Let me ask you something, and don't lie to yourself. When was the last time you felt truly alive? Not distracted, not entertained, not temporarily excited. I mean alive, because if you're honest, there's a good chance you wake up every day feeling flat. Not sad enough to cry, not angry enough to change, just empty. And that emptiness follows you everywhere. You feel it when you wake up. You feel it when you scroll. You feel it when the room gets quiet. You feel it at night when there's nothing left to distract you. You don't talk about it. You don't post about it. You don't admit it out loud. But it's there. And the scariest part? You can't explain why. From the outside, your life might look fine. You're functioning. You're surviving. You're doing what you're supposed to do. But inside, something feels missing. Here's the truth most people will never tell you. Emptiness is not an accident. It's a signal. And your mind is screaming something your comfort refuses to hear. You feel empty because you are disconnected from meaning. Not pleasure. Not comfort. Not success as the world defines it. Meaning, human beings are not built to just exist. They are built to strive, to struggle, to move towards something that matters. And when there is no direction, no challenge, no internal war being fought, the soul starts to rock quietly. Nobody warns you about this. They tell you happiness comes from ease, from convenience, from avoiding pain. But avoiding pain doesn't create peace. It creates numbness. You didn't wake up one day and suddenly feel empty. This was built over time. Every time you chose comfort over growth. Every time you avoided something hard. Every time you ignored the voice telling you, you could be more. You trained yourself to feel nothing. Because emptiness is what happens when potential goes unused. Think about it. You know there's more inside you. More discipline. More strength. More depth. And yet your daily actions don't match that knowledge. That gap between who you are and who you know you could be. That gap is emptiness. You feel empty because you're living below your standards. And your conscience never shuts up about it. You try to silence it with noise, with entertainment, with dopamine. But it always comes back. Stronger, heavier, more suffocating. Here's another truth that hurts. You feel empty because nothing in your life requires courage anymore. No real risk. No real responsibility. No real sacrifice. Your life is safe. And safety is killing you slowly. You don't feel empty because life is hard. You feel empty because it's too easy, too predictable, too comfortable, too small. Your ancestors fought to survive. They carried weight. They endured pain. They had purpose forced upon them. You have unlimited comfort and no reason to wake up hungry. So your mind looks for stimulation. But stimulation isn't fulfillment. And no amount of scrolling will ever replace meaning. You also feel empty because you've been trained to look outward instead of inward. You compare your life to others. You measure yourself by approval. You wait for motivation, validation, permission. And every time you do that, you give your power away. Emptiness grows when you live someone else's script. When your life becomes a reaction instead of decision. When days pass and you can't point to a single thing that demanded the best version of you. That's why silence scares you. Because in silence, there are no excuses. Just you, your thoughts, your unused potential staring back at you. And deep down, you already know the answer. You don't feel empty because something is wrong with you. You feel empty because something inside you is waiting to be activated. And the longer you delay that activation, the heavier the emptiness becomes. This is not depression. This is not bad luck. This is not life being unfair. This is the cost of avoiding your own evolution. And the question is no longer why you feel empty. The real question is, how long are you going to ignore what this emptiness is trying to turn you into? Here's the part nobody wants to admit. Modern life didn't accidentally make you feel empty. It was engineered this way. Not by some conspiracy in a dark room, but by systems that profit from your distraction, comfort, and weakness. Because an empty person is easier to control. You live in a world that gives you everything except meaning. Endless entertainment, endless stimulation, endless noise. But nothing that asks you to become someone stronger. You are surrounded by comfort at a level no human nervous system was ever designed to handle. Food without effort, pleasure without pursuit, validation without achievement. And when everything is available instantly, nothing feels valuable. Your brain is constantly overstimulated, yet underfulfilled. You scroll more than you think. You consume more than you create. You react more than you decide. And every time you do, your sense of purpose erodes a little more. Modern life trains you to avoid discomfort at all costs. Pain is labeled as toxic. Struggle is called unhealthy. Pressure is framed as something to escape. But pressure is what creates depth. Without pressure, you don't grow. Without resistance, you don't sharpen. Without hardship, you don't develop identity. So what happens? You stay soft. You stay restless. You stay empty. Another brutal truth? You feel empty because modern life removes responsibility from your hands. You are encouraged to blame systems, blame circumstances, blame trauma, blame society. And while some of those things are real, constant blame removes ownership. And without ownership, there is no meaning. Meaning is born when you say, "This is my life. This is my responsibility. No one is coming." But modern life doesn't want you to think that way, because a person who takes full responsibility is dangerous. They don't need permission. They don't need validation. They don't need constant stimulation. They act. So instead, you are kept busy. Busy arguing. Busy comparing. Busy consuming opinions. Busy watching other people live. And the more time you spend watching, the less alive you feel. You also feel empty because modern life disconnects you from real struggle. Most of your problems exist only in your head. You're not fighting hunger. You're not fighting nature. You're not fighting survival. You're fighting boredom, insecurity, and meaninglessness. And those are harder enemies because you can't see them. So you confuse comfort with happiness. But comfort doesn't fulfill, it sedates. It numbs a hunger that was meant to push you forward. Another reason emptiness thrives today, you are constantly told to be yourself, without ever being taught how to build yourself. Identity is treated like something you discover. In reality, identity is something you forge. Through discipline, through repetition, through doing hard things when no one is watching. But modern culture tells you to feel first and act later. That's backwards. Action creates feeling. Discipline creates confidence. Structure creates freedom. But if you wait to feel ready, you stay empty forever. Here's something uncomfortable. Modern life rewards shallow wins. Likes, views, attention, temporary praise. But none of that builds self-respect. And without self-respect, emptiness grows. You don't hate your life. You hate that deep down, you don't trust yourself. You don't trust yourself because you keep breaking promises to yourself. Every broken promise leaves a scar. Every delay weakens your identity. And modern life makes delaying easy. Start tomorrow. You deserve rest. It's okay to take a break. But no one tells you when rest turns into avoidance. No one tells you when comfort turns into decay. And then one day, you wake up and feel empty. Not because life is meaningless, but because you haven't demanded meaning from it. Modern life also isolates you, surrounded by people yet alone, connected digitally, disconnected internally. Real connection requires effort, honesty, presence. But effort is inconvenient, so you settle for shallow interactions. And shallow connections can't fill a deep soul. Here's the hardest truth of all. You feel empty because modern life allows you to live without becoming dangerous, without becoming disciplined, without becoming resilient, without becoming sharp. You were never meant to be this comfortable. You were meant to be tested. And when there is no test, the mind creates suffering to replace it. That suffering feels like emptiness. So no, you are not broken. You are underchallenged. And until you willingly step into hardship, responsibility, and discipline, the emptiness will stay. Because emptiness is the price of a life with no resistance. Let's be clear about something right now. You will not think your way out of emptiness. You will not feel your way out of emptiness. You will not wait your way out of emptiness. Emptiness is not a mindset problem. It's an action problem. And that's why motivation is useless here. Motivation is emotional. Emptiness is structural. So if you're waiting to feel ready, you're already losing. The only way to destroy emptiness permanently is to build a life so demanding that emptiness has no room to exist. And that starts with one brutal shift. You stop asking, "How do I feel?" And you start asking, "What must be done today?" Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Meaning is not found. It is built through responsibility. So the first action is this. You take full ownership of your life without negotiation. No excuses. No blaming your past. No blaming your parents, society, trauma, or circumstances. Not because those things didn't affect you, but because blaming them gives them power over your future. The moment you say, "This is my life. I am responsible for what happens next," emptiness starts to crack. The second action is structure. Empty lives are unstructured lives. If you wake up without a plan, your mind will eat itself. You need non-negotiable routines. Wake up time, training time, work time, silence time. Not because it's aesthetic, because structure removes chaos from your mind. Discipline doesn't limit you. It frees you. Every disciplined action tells your brain, I can trust myself. And trust is the opposite of emptiness. Next, you must do hard things on purpose. Daily. Not because they're productive, but because they hurt. Cold exposure, physical training, deep focus work, saying no when it's uncomfortable. You need friction, because friction sharpens identity. When life stops challenging you, you must challenge yourself, or decay is guaranteed. Another non-negotiable. You must eliminate cheap dopamine, not reduce. Eliminate mindless scrolling, porn, endless entertainment, constant noise. These things don't relax you. They drain your capacity to feel alive. When everything is stimulating, nothing is meaningful. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the doorway. On the other side of boredom is clarity. But most people never reach it because they panic and distract themselves the moment silence appears. Sit in silence. Sit in discomfort. Let your thoughts surface. That's where you meet the version of yourself you've been avoiding. Now let's talk about purpose. The real kind. Purpose is not passion. Purpose is responsibility multiplied over time. You don't need to know your life's meaning. You need to pick something difficult and commit to it relentlessly. Your body, your craft, your finances, your discipline. Purpose emerges from commitment, not clarity. Clarity comes after action, not before. Another hard truth. You must become dangerous, but controlled, not aggressive, not reckless. Capable. Capable of suffering without breaking. Capable of being alone without collapsing. Capable of saying no without guilt. A person who can endure is never empty, because endurance builds self-respect, and self-respect fills a void nothing else can. You also need standards. Low standards create empty lives. Standards for your body. Standards for your work. Standards for the people you allow around you. If everyone has access to you, nothing about you feels valuable, even to yourself. Protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Here's something most people won't tell you. Emptiness disappears when you are exhausted in the right direction. Not burnout, not distracted, exhausted from effort, from doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. That exhaustion feels clean. It feels earned, and it replaces emptiness with quiet confidence. Finally, you must understand this. This is not a one-time fix. You don't solve emptiness. You outgrow it by becoming someone too disciplined, too focused, and too intentional to live an empty life again. Some days will still feel heavy. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're alive. The difference now, you won't spiral. You won't collapse. You won't numb yourself. You'll move. One action, one rep, one decision. Because meaning is built in motion. And the moment you stop waiting to feel different and start acting different, emptiness has no choice but to leave. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger.